Hey everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the Bridge the Gap DFS video series. Wanted to follow up from where we left off in our last video talking about some of the downside of DFS. Well, today we actually get to cover some of the good things of DFS and why we all play. So I was actually wanting to show you guys what a losing streak looks like. That's why I created these videos. I just felt after a downturn in variance that things just I just felt like I was the only one that was losing, and it sucked. Even when I was winning and I would go through a losing period, I felt like I was the only one. I felt it's one of those things in DFS. When you're winning, it feels like you're never going to lose, and when you're losing, it feels like you're never going to win. And both are not correct. So you just kind of have to not get too highs with the wins and not too lows with the lows. So I want to just recap of what we've been talking about in terms of weather the storms, wait for the spikes. So we've been weathering the storm, and today we get to take a look at a spike. So this is Fantasy Cruncher. It's the site that I use to build my lineups. I work on projections, and every sport has a different way that I develop the projections, and that's something that you'll want to get into. We can talk about that later. The video series is more for the beginners getting into DFS and what losing streaks look like, how to overcome them, and such. But we'll get into projections and systems of how to build lineups. So Fantasy Cruncher has what are called optimizers, and it's basically a way to build a lot of lineups. I try to play 150 entries into every contest, again, because the big contests with the $50,000, $100,000 prizes, the contests that I want to get to eventually, are all 150 entry. And so I want practice at the smaller stakes and level up. And that's why we created the levels. So this is their homepage. They have an optimizer for everything but college football. I was emailing with the owner, Dave, and he said that college football is something that they'll be adding, but his focus right now is getting everything rolled out with some of the improvements made for the NFL season. This is a tremendous product. I've used other optimizers, and this one exceeds them by far. It has the most options. It's just a really impressive website, and the subscription to it is very reasonable. So one of the things I want to show you is one of the things that it offers for free is their rewind. You can do a lot of back testing here. So if I'm struggling with something or I want to try a new strategy, you can go and back test it to take a look at, okay, well, I want to look at playing one pitcher in 60% of my lineups and then the second pitcher at 40% of my lineups, or whatever you want to look at. You can do all of your testing here. The thing that it is also good for is looking up the contest data. So we'll go ahead and go to Saturday nights, and we'll wait for that to load, and we're going to want to take a look at the DraftKings contest data. And this will show you all of the contests and all of the slates that were available. And this will show you the entry, the tournament name, the fee to get in, the prize pool, how many entries you could have in there, how many people were in, if there was any overlay. Overlay is if DraftKings has a contest that they're guaranteeing with 16,000 people plus, but only 16,000 people showed up, then there is about a 10% overlay. The percentage of cash is how many people got paid out in this contest. So in a contest like this, the top 20%, the top score was 210, total prize pool $50,000. The cut line is what score did you need to cash, to reach the cash threshold, and then the prize of the cut line. So in this tournament, it was a $10 entry. If you finished in the top 21%, you got at least $15. There we go. So we want to take a look at the Minimax. The Minimax is that tournament that I've been telling you guys that you should not play it until you have a large enough sample size. And we saw for the first 3 weeks of this experiment, I was down almost $500. Well, not down almost. I was down over $500, almost $600. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at that, because this is where we had our big pop. You click on this and it'll take you to the contest that night. And again, I wanted to come at this for you guys with total transparency. This is the tournament, full contest details and prizes. You can click on this, and goes over everything that the contest yields, the rules and the scoring, which you guys already know, but the thing that I always like looking at on this bad boy is the prizes awarded. So we did all right in this contest. I actually had 2 entries that tied for second and third. So for that payout, we took second for $750 and third for $500. So just 2 entries on $2 total yielded $1,250. So that's what DFS is all about, is just waiting and being patient, weathering the storm of the 3-week losing streak that we've been on. Had a couple of good days, but nothing really popped. Our spreadsheet was showing losses across the board, and then we have a night like tonight, and we have a lineup that finishes second and third. And it's a contest like that. It's a lot easier to see, oh, I didn't win. It's like I wasn't close to winning. This guy beat me by 16 points. But what I did wasn't a fluke also. I was ahead of the next guy by over 10 points. So it's nice to have 2 in here, get both of those contests. Here's my lineup, how I stacked. It was an Angels and Phillies stack. And I like to stack 2 teams that had not been working for a while. A lot of 5-man single stacks is what's been cashing a lot lately. And again, going back to being able to back test, every time I would back test, it consistently yielded that my results were saying that, at least the way that I played baseball, a 5-man stack stacked with another team was better than just a 5-man stack on its own. If you're new to baseball and stacking and everything I said sounded like us being a different language, don't worry about that. We'll cover that eventually. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at our spreadsheet and see how that changed things. So obviously things are way up, but let's just temporarily delete this so we can just see where we were at as of yesterday. So the mini-max down almost $600. Classics were about 25% of the way of level 1 getting to level 2. Micro boosters started to pick up. Showdown is really gaining some steam. Winner take all, not doing so great there, and then basically breaking even on the satellites. So we'll take a look at how things are now affected with the big pop and the mini-max. And all of a sudden we were down almost $500, and now we're up almost $800. So the mini-max was very good to us over the weekend. Got us profitable there. Now, this is probably going to dwindle over the course of the week. I get, a big pop in the mini-max maybe once or twice a month, and you got to hope that you can get a top 3 finish or even win it to basically bankroll the rest of your entries into there. So I'm expecting, and hoping that the 600, can last for a week or two and give myself an opportunity to get another pop. But that's the whole thing with these big tournaments and why you should start small. They're really, really hard. And before the pop that we got over the weekend, it was ruining our overall outlook and how things were going. It's really hard to get excited about being up $60 at the quarter level when you're down almost $600. It ruins everything. So this is why it's so important to really stay where you need to be until you can level up. Showdown, we had a really nice night with the showdown. So we'll get into our spreadsheets. On the mini-max, you can see everything. The winning percentage has been consistent. It's just a matter of being able to have something that makes all the losses go away. So moving forward, this spreadsheet will look similar. You just have to hope that you get a couple $100 or a 4-figure score. Classic pretty much looks the same. Over the weekend, our winning percentage here is about 32%. That's going to hold true. So it looks like in the last 10 slates, we're actually about at a 50% winning percentage, and that indicates to me that upcoming we might be looking at a challenging week. But then again, we haven't had a big pop in almost 10 days, so we might be in for a challenging week, but our sample size says that we might get a big pop in there because that's just what we're seeing. Micro boosters, this is how it's going to look for the most part. You're going to cash about half of the time, closer to 4 out of 10 times. Satellites were going great, but again, you see I went a little overboard chasing football tickets, and that's okay. If you're going to go overboard, do it here instead of going overboard week 1 when football season starts and you throw 100 entries into the Millionaire Maker and lose, and then you're out $2,000. Showdowns are really picking up steam. If you take a look at how things were going before the holiday. We were down here. I had confidence that this would pick up, and it's really exploded. So on this game level, we are at $200. So we're just outside of our level up goal of 250. So, fingers crossed that we can stay hot here and get over the 250 and start leveling up to the dollar, and then start experiencing some exponential growth at a higher level. The winner take all is still a bit of a struggle, but Saturday also yielded a pop there. So we got a pop. We're still down on the experiment here, but one or two more of those days will be to the break-even point. And that's really why I encourage you guys to diversify and dab your toes into all of the games, and so you find the game that's performing well for you. So it gives you the confidence to try new games, to try new sports, but you're not overdoing it. I hated the showdown slates for most of the year, but the levels forced me to keep playing them, and they really weren't, affecting my overall bankroll, because I'd be losing $5 to $10 here and there. And it took so baseball started in March. We're now in September. It wasn't until August, almost 5 months before showdown slates started to pop for me. So just continue to diversify. Don't try to be too big too fast. I mean, everything looks good on this spreadsheet right now. Hey, we're up $800 in 3 weeks, but we're going to see a downswing. These numbers are going to slowly deteriorate. You just hope that you can weather the storm long enough so that your next spike gets you to a higher level than where you were at. So thanks for sticking around with us. I'm glad we got to see a losing streak, and I'm glad we got to see why you weather the storm and wait for the spikes. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter @SwimJG if you guys want to drop me an email. alldayjg@yahoo.com.